Well, leading OPEC producers have dismissed allegations that they conspired to bring down oil prices, which have plunged by almost 50% in just the last 6 months. Saudi Arabia's oil minister told an energy forum in Abu Dhabi that the sharp drop in prices was partly due to the lack of cooperation by the main producing countries outside of the OPEC cartel. While the United Arab Emirates energy minister said that irresponsible levels of output by producers outside OPEC is among the main causes of the slump in prices. So are the OPEC ministers right? Joe Lynham is our business reporter.
Well, as they say from their perspective, yes, they do. There was a time when OPEC literally told the world what was going to be the oil price. Those days are over because OPEC no longer monopolizes the supply of oil. They're now being threatened by non-OPEC members, Russia, Norway, and now the United States, because the United States has basically found a whole font of oil on its shores called fracking, shale gas and oil. And that has had a major impact on prices simply because the supply of oil has pushed down the price. So supply gone up, so demand gone down. What the OPEC ministers want to do is basically kill the supply of oil from the United States so they can go back to the good old days where the cartel could fix prices. So that's something that the oil minister was referring to there.
And yet they made the decision only last month not to cut production. Why did they do that?
OPEC is still controlled by Saudi. That's the biggest producer in OPEC. They have huge fonts of reserves. They have a whole chunk of change back in their vaults, so they can sit out a very low oil price. But they reckon that these fracking producers in the United States cannot do so because they simply wouldn't make any profit with oil prices at the levels they are. Now, oil prices at the moment are roughly $62 a barrel for Brent. There's a whole break-even issue of what countries can survive at oil prices at that level.
Joe, when we were chatting earlier, you drew my attention to a very interesting set of numbers, and I think we can take a look at it now because it basically explains the break-even point for many countries. Let's have a chat through it. So where the price of oil is at the moment, no countries are breaking even. It's so low.
These countries have basically set out a spending plan on schools, hospitals, roads, etc., based on oil at a certain level. And for every country, it's a different price. So Russia is maybe over $100 a barrel, Venezuela maybe over $120 a barrel, Saudi Arabia maybe $90 or $80 a barrel. It's different. But for most countries, they are struggling at $60 a barrel, which means they can't do the spending plans that they've promised to do unless they have huge reserves of cash like Saudi Arabia has. Venezuela does not, Russia definitely does not.
So is that why you're saying that Saudi, they can sit this out for a bit?
They can sit this out, the Russians cannot. They are bracing themselves for a severe recession starting next year. Venezuela is already slashing its spending to meet the fact that they simply won't have the income from oil to meet their spending cuts.
That was Joe Lynham speaking to me a little earlier. Time now to catch up with all of the day's sports news. Chris Mitchell is standing by for us. Chris, what have you got?